Shadows on Sunset Boulevard's sun had already dipped low behind the Los Angeles hills. Golden streaks of light stretched across the sky, and the world was slowly falling quiet, one streetlight at a time. The movie set was finally shutting down after a long day of filming. Laughter and casual chatter echoed from the crew packing equipment, and cars hummed to life as people left. But Ana de Armas didn't join the crowd. She slipped out quietly, clutching her worn backpack close to her chest. Keanu Reeves noticed her from across the lot. He had just wrapped up his last scene and was sipping water, still in costume. He watched as Ana walked alone toward the side gate, her shoulders a little too low, her steps a little too heavy. She didn't say goodbye to anyone. She didn't look back. She just kept walking, alone. Keanu didn't move right away. He studied the silence around her. Something wasn't right. Didn't hear a word, but he understood something deeply. Human, the kind of silence that isn't peace, but pain. He set down his bottle, pulled his coat over his shoulders, and followed her. Not with words, not with questions, just quiet footsteps a few paces behind. Ana didn't see him. She kept moving through side streets and past closed diners, her head down, her hair falling like a curtain. The night was growing colder, and the city, though full of people, felt strangely empty. She passed a row of newspaper stands and a boarded-up theater. She crossed Sunset Boulevard and stopped at a red light. Keanu waited on the other side, not wanting to disturb her, but not willing to let her walk alone. He stayed in the shadow of a tree, his eyes never leaving her. When the light turned green, she crossed, but not with the energy of someone heading home. She moved like someone carrying something too heavy to explain suddenly. She turned down an alley, narrow, dimly lit, and clearly not the safest place to be. Keanu's heart tightened. He didn't want to scare her, but he couldn't stay silent anymore. He called out softly in a ... She stopped mid-dash step, her shoulders rose, startled. She turned slowly, her eyes meeting his across the alley. Her face was pale, her eyes glassy. Keanu? Her voice was small, like she hadn't used it in ours. He stepped forward gently. I didn't want you to walk alone. Ana looked away. I'm fine, she whispered. He didn't respond. Instead, he took another step closer. I don't believe that, he said quietly. There was a long pause. The wind moved through the alley, picking up a piece of paper and swirling it between. Then Ana finally exhaled. I didn't want anyone to see me like this. You're not weak, Keanu said. You're human. Her eyes filled with tears, and she turned her back to him. They cut one of my scenes today. The director didn't even tell me. I found out when I read the call sheet. I've been here every day, giving everything ... And suddenly, it's like I don't matter? Keanu walked beside her and leaned against the brick wall, his hands in his pockets. I know that feeling, he said. I've felt it more than once. Ana looked at him with surprise. You... He nodded slowly. Hollywood is kind on the outside, but sometimes it forgets you're a person. Ana's voice cracked. I thought this project was different. I thought I was part of something real. Keanu nodded. You are. But sometimes, real things get lost in the noise. Doesn't mean you're invisible. Just means the world is too loud sometimes. She wiped her eyes and sank down onto the cold pavement. I don't know if I can keep doing this. Keanu sat beside her without hesitation. You don't have to decide tonight, but you're not alone. It's not tonight. Ana looked at him, her face softening. Why did you follow me? He smiled faintly. Because silence says more than people think. And because I've been where you are, walking through this city, wondering if anyone truly sees you. I didn't want you to feel that way tonight. She looked at the streetlight above, casting a soft yellow glow over them both. Thank you. They sat there in silence for a long time, the kind of silence that felt safe, warm, shared. Finally, Ana spoke again. I don't want to give up. I need a reason to stay. Keanu reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded page from the script. He handed it to her. This scene didn't make it to the call sheet either, but it's still yours, still powerful. Ana opened it, eyes scanning the dialogue. Her name was right there, next to his. The words were beautiful, raw, and full of truth. It was a moment where her character spoke about loss, identity, and hope. She looked up at him, shocked. "How did you get this?" "I wrote it," he said quietly. "I asked the director to consider it. For you." Anna didn't know what to say. Keanu stood. "I believe in your voice, Anna, even when others forget to listen." He offered her his hand. She took it, and just like that, to actors became something more. Not lovers, not strangers, but quiet warriors in a world that often shouted too loud to hear the softest truths. And that night, as they walked back together, under the glow of Los Angeles streetlights, something in both of them shifted. Not because the world changed, but because someone finally saw the silence. Echoes in the green room next morning, Anna stood outside the studio gate holding that script page in her hand. The paper was slightly crumpled from the night before, but the words felt more alive now than they ever had. She didn't sleep much, yet something in her spirit had settled. Not because her problems had disappeared, but because she no longer felt invisible. As she waited for her name to be called through the speaker, crew members walked past her, some nodding politely, others too busy to notice. It was always like that, busy, loud, and lonely all at once. Inside, Keanu had arrived early. He sat in the green room alone, flipping through his notes. His face looked calm, but his mind was somewhere else. He was thinking about Anna. Because she needed saving, but because she reminded him of a younger version of himself, hopeful, full of energy, and quietly breaking under pressure. He remembered the days when people told him to speak less, feel less, or change to fit a mold. He hadn't forgotten those wounds. And now, watching Anna navigate her own, he felt something stir inside him, not pity, but connection. The door opened, and Anna stepped in. Her eyes met his. "You're early," she said, her voice soft, but stronger than the night before. Keanu smiled gently. "So are you." She sat across from him, holding the script page between her fingers. "I read it 3 times last night, and—"
"8.
Cried, she admitted, then smiled faintly. "But not because I was sad, because it reminded me why I came here in the first place." Keanu leaned forward, and the words did their job. A moment passed between them, quiet and deep. Then the assistant director stepped in and called them both to stage B. The director wanted to rehearse a dialogue-heavy scene, one that wasn't originally part of the schedule. They walked through the hallway side by side. For the first time in weeks, Anna didn't feel like she had to shrink herself to fit the room. When they reached the soundstage, the director, a serious man known for his sharp vision and sharper tongue, looked up from his monitor, double quotes, "Anna Keanu, let's try something today," he said. "We're reworking scene 28. It's more character-focused now." Keanu gave a tiny glance toward Anna. He knew what this meant. Anna stepped into position and looked around. The set was a dimly lit hospital corridor. Her character was supposed to confront Keanu's in a vulnerable moment. The scene was new, raw, and hadn't been rehearsed. "Ready?" the director asked. Anna took a breath. "Yes." They began. Keanu's single quotes character was wounded emotionally and physically. Anna's character had just found him after thinking he abandoned her. Her voice trembled, but not from fear, from honesty. "You said we'd face this together?" She spoke in character, but you walked away. Keanu responded with silence, his expression heavy with regret. "I needed you," she continued, stepping closer, "and you left." Keanu whispered, "I didn't think I deserved to stay." In that moment, the entire crew fell silent. Something was happening on set that wasn't written, it was felt. Anna's tears were real. Keanu's voice carried years of pain, not just from the script, but from life. When the director called cut, no one moved. Even the camera operator wiped his eyes. Anna turned to the director, expecting criticism or a rewrite instead. He stood up, nodded, and said quietly, "Keep it exactly like that." She blinked. "We're adding it to the final cut," he added. "It's too honest not to include." Anna's lips parted in shock. Then slowly her shoulders loosened. Her voice had been heard finally. After the scene, She walked off set and sat alone for a moment, processing what just happened. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from release. Keanu joined her, handing her a cup of warm tea. "You were brilliant," he said simply. Anna looked at him, her eyes glossy but grateful. "You gave me that chance." Keanu shook his head. "You gave yourself that chance. I just made sure they didn't miss it." She sipped her tea. "Do you think this business ever gets easier?" He chuckled softly. "No, but you get stronger." Anna paused. "What if I don't want to get harder?" "Then don't," Keanu said. "Stay soft. Stay honest. Just learn when to protect your softness. That's what strength really is." She nodded, holding on to that truth. But outside the green room, not everyone was happy. One of the producers, an older man who had pushed to keep Anna's screen time limited, was watching the new footage. He wasn't impressed, not because it wasn't good, but because it shifted the spotlight. He leaned over to a junior assistant. "Cut her scenes again. Not all. Just enough so the leads remain balanced." The assistant looked hesitant. "But sir, the scene just got approval from the director. I said do it," the man snapped. Quietly, back in the green room, Anna didn't know yet that someone was trying to silence her again, but Keanu knew the industry too well. He had seen this pattern, and this time he wasn't going to let it repeat. That night, Keanu made a quiet call to an old friend, someone with more influence than any producer on the lot, someone who had seen Anna's scene and wept. He didn't ask for favors, he just told the truth, and that truth, raw, kind, and full of fire, began a ripple that would shake more than just a movie. It would shake the hearts that forgot kindness still mattered. The whisper behind the curtain. Next day began like any other. Makeup brushes moved across faces, cables twisted across the floor, and the set was filled with the hum of quiet preparation. But under that hum, something was stirring. Something quiet yet powerful. Anna arrived early, same as always. But this morning, she noticed a few new faces on set, executives she hadn't seen before, standing by the monitors, whispering. Their eyes followed her as she passed. Their smiles were polite but not warm. She didn't say anything. She had learned to read a room without asking questions. She kept her head down and found her way to the green room. But Keanu wasn't there. His chair was empty, the tea he usually drank untouched. She sat for a while, her thoughts running too fast. Something felt off, like a wrong note in a song. Then the assistant director stepped in, clearing his throat. "Anna, the scene you rehearsed yesterday, it's been moved to the end of the schedule." She looked up. "But it's already shot." He hesitated. "We're reevaluating." Her heart dropped. She didn't argue. She just nodded and stood up. Once again, her place in the story was being questioned. Meanwhile, on the other side of the studio, Keanu stood in a private screening room with a woman named Maren Taylor, one of the most respected producers in Hollywood. She wasn't part of the original project, but she had seen the footage Keanu sent her. She'd called him back within minutes. "She's not just good," Maren said, her voice serious. "She's necessary." "Why is this even a debate?" Keanu folded his arms. "Ego. Politics. They're afraid she outshined their investment." Maren nodded slowly. "Then we show them something they can't ignore." And that was the beginning. Without making noise, Maren made a few calls. Powerful ones. Stepping on toes, she arranged a small private screening for studio heads. Not the regular team, but people above them. Anna didn't know about any of this. She spent her afternoon waiting, trying not to fall apart. She sat in a quiet corner behind one of the sound stages, staring at the same script page Keanu gave her days ago. Her fingers traced the words, but her heart was heavy. How many times could she get back up? Then she heard footsteps. She looked up. It was Keanu. He sat beside her, not saying anything at first. Finally, he asked, "Do you trust me?" Anna turned to him slowly. "Yes, but I don't know why I should." Keanu smiled softly, because when the world tells you to stay silent, sometimes someone needs to whisper louder. "What did you do?" she asked, voice low. "I reminded the right people that stories don't need permission to matter," he said. "And I showed them what you can do." Anna stared at him. "I didn't ask you to fight for me. You didn't have to," he replied. "Because I remember when no one fought for me." her eyes filled with tears. What if they cut me out anyway? Keanu looked at her gently. Then we tell another story. But this time they won't, I promise. Just then, a message buzzed on his phone. He read it, then stood up. Come with me, he said. She followed him. I'm sure they walked across the studio to the private screening room where the executives were just finishing the scene, the same one that had nearly been removed. Anna stopped at the door, not wanting to go in. She heard something clapping. And then a voice. Who is this girl? One of the executives asked. Why haven't we seen more of her? Keanu opened the door wider and Anna stepped in. Marin turned and smiled at her. We've been waiting to meet you. Anna looked around, her breath caught. All the powerful people in the room, the ones who never knew her name before, were standing now. Not because of her fame, not because of her beauty, but because of her truth. They saw her, really saw her. A few hours later, the news spread quietly through the studio. The scene was not only restored, it was being extended, and Anna's role was now officially listed as supporting lead. In the green room, the same producer who had tried to silence her slammed his binder shut, but he said nothing. He had been Oute in Cat, and had sat in silence when she heard the news. Her hands trembled again, not from sadness, but disbelief. Keanu watched her carefully. They changed their minds, she said, almost not believing it. Keanu nodded. No, you changed them. I just lit the match. You were the fire. Looked at him, the corners of her mouth lifting into a quiet smile. Thank you for not walking away. You were never meant to walk alone, he said. And in that moment, everything she had lost, confidence, voice, hope, began to return. Not all at once, but enough to stand taller. Outside the green room, other actors watched quietly. They saw how Keanu moved, not as a star, but as a brother. How he used his voice not to boast, but to lift, disappeared, and how he made sure no one disappeared in the silence. Anna wasn't just a girl with talent anymore. She was the reason someone important looked again. She was the quiet change that was no longer easy to ignore, and the whisper that began behind the curtain was now turning into a storm. The storm they didn't see coming next morning. Anna walked through the studio gate with a new kind of silence around her, not the silence of fear, but of strength. It was the same gate she had passed through many times before, where no one noticed her. But today, things were different. People looked up, people smiled, some greeted her by name. She hadn't changed, but now they saw her. Keanu was already on set, reviewing the updated script. The new pages had arrived overnight, and her name was printed in bold beneath his in several key scenes. Her voice was finally being written in ink, not pencil, not temporary, permanent. When she arrived at the soundstage, she noticed the lights had shifted. The cameras were positioned for her entrance. The director nodded at her with real respect this time. Ready? He asked. Anna glanced at Keanu, who gave her the smallest, most grounding smile. Yes, she said with steady breath. They began filming a new sequence, her character confronting a powerful figure, exposing truth and betrayal. Her words were fierce but quiet, each line cutting deeper than the last. It wasn't just acting anymore, it was a release. And when they called cut, there was no applause, just a heavy, respectful silence. One that meant they felt every word after the scene. The director pulled her aside. Anna, he said, I didn't see it before, but now I do. You don't act the role, you become it. She nodded quietly. I've always been here. I was just waiting for someone to listen. He looked down, almost ashamed. I should have listened sooner? She didn't answer with anger, just a gentle, kind smile. But outside the set walls, trouble was brewing. The same producer who had tried to silence her wasn't done yet. His pride was hurt. His influence was slipping. And in Hollywood, ego often spoke louder than truth. He called a private meeting with other executives who still owed him favors. She's good, he admitted bitterly, but she's becoming a distraction. People are watching her more than the leads. That's a problem. What do you want to do? One of them asked. He leaned in. We find something, anything. a rumor, a mistake, a flaw. We remind them why stars rise fast and fall faster. They nodded slowly. The quiet machinery of sabotage had begun, but what they didn't know was this: Anna wasn't alone anymore. That evening, Anna got a message on her phone. It was an anonymous article draft someone had leaked to a gossip blog, filled with lies about her being difficult, emotional, and unprofessional. She stared at the words in shock. The words hit like knives. But before she could even react, her phone buzzed again. It was Keanu. I saw it. Don't respond yet. I'm handling it. Anna didn't understand. She felt helpless, but Keanu wasn't wasting time. He called Marin. They're trying to destroy her the old-fashioned way, he said. Then we destroy their story, Marin replied. I have something better. By morning, the blog that was supposed to release the smear piece had instead published something very different. Keanu Reeves and rising star Ana de Armas delivered the year's most powerful scene, and it wasn't even in the script. It was Marin's doing. The leaked footage of their hospital corridor scene had gone viral. Someone on set had uploaded a short clip unauthorized, but unstoppable. It had spread across social media overnight, racking up millions of views, and our fans were crying in the comments. Actors were praising her performance. And most importantly, the public was listening suddenly. The studio had a new problem. Anna wasn't just a girl with a line or two. She was the reason people wanted to see the movie. The producer who tried to erase her reputation was summoned by the studio head. We don't silence stars, he was told. We support them. And just like that, the very man who tried to bury her was removed from the project. Keanu and Anna were told together. The change was official. Anna sat in silence for a moment, her hands in her lap. Is this really happening? She asked Keanu. Nodded. You didn't just survive it, you turned it into something stronger. She looked up at him. I almost gave up. You didn't, he said. And that's what makes all the difference. Later that night, Anna walked to the same alley where Keanu had first followed her days ago. The wind was gentle. The streetlight flickered above her. She stood in the same place, where she had nearly disappeared in silence. Now, she stood tall. She wasn't famous yet, but she was seen, and seen for the right reasons. Keanu joined her quietly, just like before. I didn't think we'd be back here, she said. Places don't change, he replied. We do. They both smiled, tired, quiet. Grateful not because the world had become easier, but because they had found a way through it, together. The silence before the standing ovation studio had changed, not in appearance, but in energy. Anna could feel it in the way people passed her in the hallway now. They didn't avoid her eyes, didn't rush past her like she didn't exist. They looked, they nodded. Some even stopped to say, you were amazing in that scene. But Anna didn't let it go to her head. She still carried her own bag, still rehearsed alone in quiet corners, still checked in with the makeup team. Even when no one asked her to, Keanu noticed all of it. He had seen actors rise fast and burn out just as quickly. But Anna was different. She was becoming something Hollywood rarely allowed, strong without being hardened, kind without being naive. One afternoon, the studio called a meeting. It wasn't the usual production update. Sat quietly at the back of the conference room beside Keanu, her heart thudding. The director stood in front of the crew. He looked around, clearing his throat. The final cut has been reviewed, he said, and after strong feedback from the studio, we're shifting the focus of the film. It's also a story about discovery, about rising from silence. And Anna, he looked directly at her. Your character is no longer just a supporting voice. You're the emotional anchor of the story. People turned to look at her. The crew, the actors, everyone. Anna's breath caught in her throat. She opened her mouth to speak but found no words. It's just a small, grateful nod. Keanu placed his hand gently on her shoulder. No words either, just a quiet presence reminding her, you earned this. But not everyone felt the same. A lead actress, who had once brushed past Anna without a word, now watched her with cold eyes. For weeks, she had been the center of attention, the studio's darling. And now her spotlight was shared, diluted. She didn't speak in the meeting, but her silence held its own storm. The next day, things began to shift again. Anna arrived on set to find her wardrobe mysteriously missing. Her new script pages were delayed. Someone had given her the wrong call time. She nearly missed rehearsal. It was small, subtle sabotage. The kind meant to chip away confidence without leaving proof. Anna didn't complain. But Keanu noticed. He walked up to her one morning as she stood, alone by the costume trailer. "They're trying to shake you," he said softly. Anna gave a tired smile. "I know, I can feel it." "Want me to speak to them?" he asked. She shook her head. "No. If I fall, it should be because of my choices, not their games." Keanu paused, then nodded with respect. "That's brave." Anna looked at him. "No, that's growth. But even strength has its limits." On the final week of shooting, a major emotional scene was scheduled. Anna had prepared for it for days. Long monologues, deep feelings, tight timing. She showed up early, rehearsed. In the shadows, went over every line with care. But when the time came, the lead actress interrupted her scene twice. First by fumbling lines, then by accidentally stepping into Anna's space and forcing a reset. The third time it happened, didn't scream. She just sat in the hallway, her head resting against the cool wall. Keanu followed. "You okay?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "It's like every time I take a step forward, someone tries to shove me back." Keanu knelt beside her. "It's because your step forward shakes their ground." She looked at him with tired eyes. "Not trying to take anything from anyone, I know," he said. "But people who are afraid, they see growth as a threat." Anna looked down at her hands. "Maybe I don't belong in a place like this." Keanu shook his head. "No, maybe this place doesn't know how lucky it is to have you." He stood up and offered his hand again, just like that first night in the alley. Anna hesitated. Then she took it. When she returned to set, something unexpected happened. Before the director could call action, one of the sound techs stepped forward and said, "Excuse me, I just want to say something." Everyone turned. "I've worked on a lot of sets," he said, voice strong. "But I've never seen someone work harder or treat people better than Anna. And watching what happened earlier, it wasn't fair." There was a pause, then the camera operator spoke. "He's right. She deserves respect." Then the lighting crew. "She's the reason I care about this movie." One by one, people spoke. Not loud, not dramatic, just honest. Anna stood frozen, overwhelmed. The lead actress turned. Red, she didn't speak. The director finally raised his hand. We moved forward. Full respect, full support. Clear. Everyone nodded. Keanu gave Anna a tiny smile from the side, and this time, she didn't just feel seen, she felt protected, heard, valued. They rolled the camera. Again, Anna stepped into the light and delivered the most powerful performance of her life, not because she wanted to prove them wrong, but because she had finally found the courage to be right where she was. When the credits fade, the truth remains, film wrapped with a quiet kind of celebration. No champagne showers, no screaming into cameras, just warm applause on the final take, soft hugs, and people who had seen something real unfold. Not just on screen, but behind it. Anna stood by the exit door of the soundstage as the lights dimmed. She looked at the empty set where her most emotional scene had been filmed just days before. The walls were still there, the props untouched, but something had changed. The silence didn't feel cold anymore. It felt earned. Keanu walked up beside her, hands in his pockets, just watching her. Didn't say anything at first. They both just stood there, letting the moment breathe. "You did it," he said finally. Anna smiled softly. "We did it." He tilted his head. "No, this was yours." She looked at him. "You believed in me when no one else did." Keanu smiled. "You're wrong. You believed in you. I just didn't let you forget." They left the studio together that night, the air outside cool and still. Anna pulled her coat tighter, not because she was cold, but because she could finally feel the end of something. In the beginning of something else. Months passed. The film hit theaters. Early reviews were kind, respectful, but no one expected. What came next? In a time when big names and flashy trailers ruled the box office, something different happened. Word of mouth spread. Audiences didn't just watch the film, they felt it. They whispered about the girl with the quiet eyes, about the performance that left them shaken. Clips went viral. Interviews were requested. But Anna didn't rush to the spotlight. She stayed quiet, humble, just like she had always been. Keanu watched from a distance, proud, but never in the way. He gave her space to rise without holding on. Then one morning, the nominations were announced. Best Supporting Actress, Ana de Armas. Anna sat frozen in her small apartment when she heard the news. She didn't jump, didn't scream, just covered her mouth with her hands, tears slipping through her fingers. Not because of the award, but because it meant she hadn't disappeared, because the world had listened and remembered. She called Keanu. He answered on the first ring. "It's not about winning," she whispered. "No," he said. "It's about being seen." A few weeks later, the night of the awards came. The lights, the cameras, the long red carpet. Anna arrived quietly, her gown simple but beautiful. She wasn't the flashiest. She wasn't the loudest. But when she stepped out of the car, the crowd hushed. People turned, cameras focused, and for a moment, the entire industry paused for her. Keanu stood inside already, waiting near the stage entrance. When he saw her enter, his eyes softened. He wasn't dressed like a superstar, just a man who had kept his promise to someone who once walked alone. As the ceremony began, Anna listened with grace. When her name was called as a nominee, she smiled quietly. And when the winner was announced and it wasn't her, she still clapped with both hands, her heart full. She didn't need the trophy. She already had something better. After the ceremony, as people rushed to after parties and flashing lights, Anna stepped outside alone, just for a moment. The night air was fresh. The city below sparkled like a sea of stars. Keanu joined her, holding 2 cups of tea. "You left early," he said. "Needed to breathe," she replied. They sipped in silence, then she turned to him. "I'm not afraid anymore." He nodded. "Good. I don't need everyone to like me. Even better. I just want to keep telling stories that matter." "Then you've already won," he said. Anna looked at the city. "Do you think it'll always be this hard?" Keanu's smile was faint. "Probably," she laughed gently, "but it's worth it, right?" "Every moment," he said, "especially when you remember who you are." They stood there a little longer, watching the night pass quietly. No cameras, no scripts, just 2 people, one who never gave up, ... and one who never let her forget her worth. When they finally parted ways that night, Anna didn't look back. Not because she was leaving something behind, but because she was finally walking forward, not alone, not silent and not afraid.